On a crisp, clear morning in January 1947, a young mother pushing her child in a stroller made a discovery that would forever etch itself into the annals of American crime history. In a vacant lot in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, she stumbled upon what initially appeared to be a discarded mannequin. But as she drew closer, the horrifying truth became unmistakably clear. It was the bisected body of a young woman, meticulously posed and drained of blood, a macabre tableau beneath the California sun. This grim find ignited one of the most sensational and baffling murder investigations the world had ever seen, casting a dark shadow over the glamorous facade of post-war Hollywood. The victim was soon identified as Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress who had arrived in Hollywood dreaming of stardom. Her vibrant life was brutally cut short, and the details surrounding her death were so horrific they shocked even hardened detectives. The public, already fascinated by the dark underbelly of the film industry, was gripped by a mixture of horror and morbid curiosity. The case quickly became a media sensation, fueled by the victim's striking appearance and the sheer barbarity of the crime. Journalists, eager for headlines, coined a sensational nickname that would follow her story for decades: the Black Dahlia. Los Angeles in 1947 was a city of paradoxes. It was a beacon of hope and opportunity, attracting countless individuals seeking fame, fortune, or simply a new beginning after the war. Yet, beneath the veneer of sun-kissed dreams and cinematic magic lay a city grappling with rapid growth, burgeoning crime, and significant social changes. The murder of Elizabeth Short ripped through this complex social fabric, exposing a darker reality. The sheer audacity and theatricality of the crime seemed to mock the very ideals the city presented, leaving its residents in a state of disbelief and profound unease. It was a stark reminder that even in a city built on illusions, terror could be shockingly real. The scene in Leimert Park was meticulously orchestrated, almost artistic in its horror. The body had been severed at the waist with surgical precision, completely drained of blood, and then cleaned. Every detail seemed to be a deliberate message. The killer had left no fingerprints, no obvious weapons, and no clear signs of struggle at the dump site. This level of planning and execution immediately signaled to investigators that they were dealing with a perpetrator who was not only profoundly disturbed but also highly intelligent and possibly with medical or anatomical knowledge. The sheer clinical nature of the act was deeply unsettling, suggesting a chilling detachment from human life. The initial police response was swift and overwhelming. Detectives from the Los Angeles Police Department flooded the area, joined by reporters and curious onlookers. The sheer gruesomeness of the discovery demanded immediate attention, and the department dedicated extensive resources to what would become their most challenging case. Yet, the chaos of the scene, combined with the lack of direct physical evidence, hampered early efforts. The LAPD, unaccustomed to such a theatrical and meticulously clean crime, found themselves facing a murderer who seemed to be taunting them, setting the stage for an investigation riddled with false leads, dead ends, and a public relations nightmare. Elizabeth Short's story began far from the glamorous streets of Hollywood. Born in Boston, Massachusetts, in 1924, she grew up in Medford, a quiet suburb. Her childhood was marked by upheaval. Her father disappeared in 1930, presumed dead, though he would later resurface. Elizabeth, the third of 5 daughters, developed a restless spirit and a desire to escape her ordinary surroundings. She worked various odd jobs, always yearning for something more exciting, something grander than the life she knew. This yearning, shared by so many young women of her generation, would ultimately draw her to the dazzling, yet dangerous, allure of California. Like countless others, Elizabeth Short arrived in Los Angeles with dreams fueled by movie magazines and the silver screen. She was drawn by the magnetic pull of Hollywood, believing it held the key to a life of glamour and recognition. Elizabeth was undeniably beautiful, with striking blue eyes and dark hair, qualities she hoped would open doors in the competitive film industry. However, her reality was far from the lavish sets and exclusive parties. She never secured a significant acting role, instead working as a waitress, living a transient life, often moving between boyfriends and acquaintances, always on the fringes of the dream she chased. Elizabeth Short's life in California was marked by instability. She often bounced between residences, staying with various men she met, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months. She had a network of acquaintances across Southern California, from Los Angeles to San Diego, but few close friends. This transient existence made it challenging for investigators to piece together her final movements. Her last weeks were particularly elusive, a blur of casual relationships and vague plans. This lack of a fixed address or stable social circle would prove to be a significant obstacle in understanding the context of her murder and identifying potential suspects. The final days of Elizabeth Short's life remain shrouded in speculation. She was last definitively seen alive on January 9, 1947, at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She was there with a male acquaintance, whom she reportedly left to meet her sister. However, her sister never arrived. What transpired between January 9 and the discovery of her body on January 15 is a 6-day void that investigators desperately tried to fill. This critical period, known as the missing week, became the focal point of the initial investigation, a puzzle piece that, to this day, has never perfectly fit into place, leaving countless unanswered questions. The Biltmore Hotel, a grand and iconic landmark in downtown Los Angeles, played a crucial, albeit brief, role in Elizabeth Short's final known movements. Known for its luxurious ambience and as a favorite spot for Hollywood elite, it was a place where dreams and reality often converged. Elizabeth was seen making a phone call from the hotel lobby before disappearing into the bustling city. The Biltmore became a symbol of the glittering facade that obscured the dark undercurrents of the city, a place of public display where private tragedies could unfold unnoticed. Investigators meticulously interviewed staff and guests, hoping to find a lead, but the trail went cold. The autopsy performed on Elizabeth Short's body revealed the full extent of the killer's brutality and precision. The body had been completely drained of blood, and the internal organs were undisturbed. The most striking detail was the bisecting of the body, meticulously cut at the waist. Her face had been brutally mutilated, a Glasgow smile carved from the corners of her mouth to her ears. These details suggested a killer with a profound understanding of anatomy, possibly a medical professional or someone with surgical experience. The brutality was not random, it was calculated, designed to shock and terrify, sending a clear message. The specific methods employed by the killer led investigators to believe this was a calling card murder, designed to leave an indelible impression. The dramatic presentation of the body in a public space, the meticulous cleaning, and the gruesome mutilations all pointed to a deliberate act of theatrical horror. It was an attempt by the killer to assert dominance, to announce their presence, and perhaps to engage in a macabre dialogue with the police and the public. This aspect of the crime made it particularly difficult to solve, as the killer left little conventional evidence, instead communicating through the victim's body itself. The Los Angeles Police Department faced unprecedented challenges in the Black Dahlia case. The sheer volume of incoming tips, many from hoaxers or mentally unstable individuals, quickly overwhelmed their resources. Compounding this was the sensational media coverage, which often hindered rather than helped the investigation. The absence of modern forensic techniques, such as DNA analysis, meant detectives relied heavily on witness testimony, circumstantial evidence, and traditional investigative methods. The killer's meticulousness, coupled with the era's limited forensic capabilities, created a perfect storm for an unsolved case, a frustrating testament to the limitations of 1940s policing. In the immediate aftermath of the murder, a flurry of theories and potential suspects emerged. Investigators explored possibilities ranging from rejected lovers to organized crime figures, from disgruntled medical students to serial killers. The transient nature of Elizabeth's life meant her circle of acquaintances was vast and often fleeting, making it difficult to pinpoint any specific individual with motive or opportunity. Each lead, no matter how promising, seemed to evaporate, leaving detectives chasing shadows. The early stages of the investigation were a desperate scramble to find any thread that could unravel the knot of this horrifying crime. The Black Dahlia murder became a true media spectacle. Newspapers, particularly the Hearst Corporation, capitalized on the public's morbid fascination, publishing sensational headlines and graphic details. Reporters went so far as to contact Elizabeth Short's mother, giving her misleading information about her daughter's supposed safety before breaking the news of her death. This unethical behavior inflamed public outrage but also sold countless papers. The media's intense coverage, while keeping the case in the public eye, often blurred the lines between fact and speculation, creating a confusing narrative that complicated the official investigation and perhaps even emboldened the killer. Adding another layer of macabre theatricality to the case were the Avenger letters. Approximately a week after the discovery of the body, a package arrived at the Los Angeles Examiner newspaper office. It contained Elizabeth Short's birth certificate, social security card, photographs, and an address book, along with a note cut from magazine letters, stating, "Herein is Dahlia's belongings, and a plan for revenge. You will hear from me around January 29th. The Avenger." This chilling communication, believed to be from the killer, was a direct taunt to the authorities and the press, a deliberate attempt to prolong the spectacle and assert control over the narrative. In the 1940s, forensic science was still in its infancy compared to today's capabilities. DNA analysis was decades away, and even fingerprint technology, while established, was limited by the quality of prints recovered. Detectives relied heavily on trace evidence like fibers in hair, but the ability to link them definitively to a suspect was rudimentary. The clean nature of the Black Dahlia crime scene, deliberately wiped clean by the killer, further exacerbated these limitations. Without modern tools, the LAPD was left to sift through a mountain of circumstantial evidence, witness accounts, and vague leads, often without the conclusive scientific proof that modern investigations take for granted. The immense publicity surrounding the Black Dahlia case led to an unprecedented number of false confessions. Over 60 individuals, both men and women, came forward claiming to be the killer, or to have knowledge of the crime. Many sought notoriety, while others were mentally ill, genuinely believing they had committed the heinous act. Each confession, no matter how dubious, had to be painstakingly investigated by the LAPD, diverting precious resources and time away from genuine leads. This deluge of misinformation further muddied the waters, making it nearly impossible to discern truth from fantasy and adding to the frustration of the investigating officers. The initial investigation eventually tapered off without an arrest, leaving the case to fester as an enduring cold case. The frustration within the LAPD was palpable. Despite hundreds of interviews, thousands of pages of reports, and an unparalleled commitment of manpower, the killer remained elusive. The case became a symbol of both the department's dedication and its limitations, a constant reminder of a monstrous crime that slipped through their grasp. The lack of closure haunted many of the detectives who worked the case, becoming a lifelong personal quest for some, even long after retirement. Decades after the murder, a compelling, albeit controversial, theory emerged, largely championed by Steve Hodel, a retired LAPD homicide detective. His father, George Hodel, a prominent Los Angeles physician, became the central figure in his investigation. Steve Hodel began to suspect his father after discovering disturbing photographs among his father's belongings, one of which bore a striking resemblance to Elizabeth Short. This personal quest for answers would lead him down a rabbit hole of disturbing family secrets and alleged connections to other unsolved crimes, rekindling public interest and offering a new, unsettling perspective on the Black Dahlia mystery. Dr. George Hodel was a fascinating and enigmatic character. A brilliant physician with an IQ of 186, he was a child prodigy who entered Caltech at 15. He cultivated a sophisticated social circle, frequented by artists, writers, and Hollywood figures, often hosting extravagant parties at his distinctive Frank Lloyd Wright-designed home, known as the Soden House. However, beneath this veneer of intellectualism and social charm, Hodel harbored a dark side, with allegations of sexual misconduct and a history of erratic behavior. This dichotomy made him a compelling, if deeply disturbing, potential suspect in a crime of such complex depravity. The Soden House, Dr. George Hodel's residence in Los Feliz, became a focal point of Steve Hodel's theory. Designed by Lloyd Wright, son of Frank Lloyd Wright, its Mayan revival architecture and imposing, almost fortress-like facade, gave it a distinctive and somewhat sinister appearance. Steve Hodel theorized that his father committed the murder within the house, using its hidden passages and soundproofed rooms to carry out the unspeakable acts. The house itself, with its unique design, became more than just a setting. It was reimagined as a potential stage for murder, adding to the macabre allure of the Black Dahlia narrative. Intriguingly, George Hodel was, in fact, a suspect in the original Black Dahlia investigation. The LAPD placed him under surveillance in 1950, 3 years after the murder, due to his erratic behavior and a complaint from his daughter, Tamar, who accused him of abuse. Recordings made during this surveillance captured Hodel speaking cryptically about the murder, even remarking, "Supposin' I did kill the Black Dahlia. They couldn't prove it now." These chilling statements, combined with other suspicious activities, provided tantalizing, though inconclusive, evidence against him. The surveillance files remain a critical, yet ultimately frustrating, piece of the puzzle. The most compelling aspect of the surveillance was the audio tapes. Over several days, the police bugged Hodel's home, capturing conversations that, while not a direct confession, strongly implicated him. Beyond the Black Dahlia remark, Hodel discussed cutting her up, and mentioned how difficult it was to get rid of a body. These recordings, though circumstantial, resonated deeply with Steve Hodel and many who studied the case. They revealed a man seemingly obsessed with the mechanics of the murder, speaking with a disturbing detachment that perfectly matched the chilling nature of the crime, adding immense weight to his son's theory. An intriguing facet of the Hodel theory is his connection to the Surrealist art movement. George Hodel was an acquaintance of Man Ray, the famous Surrealist artist, and even owned some of his works. Steve Hodel posited that the Black Dahlia murder itself was a surrealist work of art, a macabre masterpiece designed by his father. The way Elizabeth Short's body was posed, the mutilations resembling a distorted smile, and the placement in a vacant lot, all suggested an artistic, symbolic act rather than a simple rage killing. This perspective transformed the crime from a mere act of violence into a deeply symbolic, if horrifying, statement. While the George Hodel theory gained significant traction, it's crucial to remember that he was far from the only suspect investigated over the decades. Figures like Walter Bailey, a surgeon suspected of performing abortions, and Robert Manley, Elizabeth's last known escort, were extensively scrutinized. Jack Wilson, a former homicide detective who later confessed to other murders, was also considered. The sheer number of potential perpetrators highlights the complexity of the case and the difficulty in narrowing down the possibilities. Each suspect brought their own set of compelling, yet ultimately insufficient, evidence, ensuring the mystery's longevity. In the decades following the Black Dahlia murder, some theorists have attempted to link the crime to other notorious serial killers, most notably the Zodiac Killer, who terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s. The striking similarities in the killer's apparent enjoyment of taunting the press and police, sending cryptic letters, and the theatrical nature of their crimes, fueled these speculative connections. However, despite these superficial resemblances, there has never been any concrete evidence to suggest a direct link between the Black Dahlia murder and the Zodiac Killer. The geographical and temporal distances make a direct connection highly improbable, relegating it to the realm of true crime folklore. As with any cold case, the passage of time is the greatest enemy. The degradation of physical evidence, the fading of witness memories, and the eventual deaths of key individuals involved in the original investigation, all conspire to make solving the Black Dahlia murder increasingly difficult. Documents are lost, photographs deteriorate, and crucial details become obscured by the mists of history. What might have been a viable lead in 1947 is a mere whisper today. The case now relies heavily on historical analysis, re-examination of old files, and the tenacity of dedicated amateur and professional sleuths, operating without the benefit of a fresh crime scene. For Elizabeth Short's family, particularly her sisters, the unsolved murder of their loved one remains a wound that has never healed. Despite the passage of decades, they have sought answers, contributing to investigations, and advocating for renewed efforts. The Hodel family's involvement, spearheaded by Steve Hodel, exemplifies how personal stakes can drive decades-long quests for truth, bringing new perspectives and relentless dedication to a case that the official channels had long put to rest. Their persistent search for justice ensures that Elizabeth Short is never truly forgotten, and the question of who did it continues to echo. The Black Dahlia murder is often viewed as more than just a crime, it's seen as a grim symbol of Hollywood's darker side. For many, it represented the shattering of the Hollywood dream, exposing the brutal reality that lurked beneath the glittering surface of fame and fortune. Elizabeth Short, an innocent aspiring actress, became a cautionary tale, a victim not just of a monstrous killer, but perhaps also of the ruthless indifference of a city obsessed with image. Her story became intertwined with the mythos of Hollywood itself, a stark reminder that even in the brightest lights, the deepest shadows can hide the most terrible secrets. Beyond the confines of true crime, the Black Dahlia murder has evolved into a significant cultural phenomenon. It has inspired countless books, films, television series, and even video games, each attempting to grapple with the mystery and its dark allure. James Ellroy's novel, The Black Dahlia, and the subsequent film adaptation, brought renewed attention to the case, often blending fact with fiction to create a compelling, if sometimes sensationalized, narrative. This ongoing cultural fascination ensures that Elizabeth Short's story, and the questions surrounding her death, remain a perpetual fixture in the public imagination. Despite more than 75 years passing since Elizabeth Short's brutal murder, the core questions remain hauntingly unanswered. Who was the killer? What was their motive? Why the grotesque theatricality? Each theory, from the most plausible to the most outlandish, offers only fragments of a possible truth. The Black Dahlia case is not merely a historical curiosity, it is a profound testament to the limits of justice, a chilling reminder that some evils can indeed escape consequence. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that not every puzzle has a solution, not every monster is caught. The Black Dahlia murder leaves behind a legacy of pervasive mystery, a narrative that continues to evolve with each new theory and re-examination. It has become a touchstone for true crime enthusiasts, a benchmark for unsolved cases, and a cautionary tale about the dark side of ambition and the dangers lurking in plain sight. Elizabeth Short's life was tragically brief, but her death ignited a story that has spanned generations, forever intertwining her name with the dark underbelly of Hollywood. Her legacy is one of unanswered questions, a perpetual whisper in the lore of Los Angeles. The Black Dahlia case left a lasting impact on law enforcement, particularly the LAPD. It highlighted the need for more sophisticated forensic techniques, better interagency cooperation, and improved methods for handling media scrutiny in high-profile cases. While the immediate investigation was frustratingly inconclusive, the lessons learned from its failures indirectly contributed to advancements in later decades. It served as a stark example of a complex, meticulously executed crime that pushed the boundaries of traditional police work, forcing departments to consider new strategies and technologies to confront increasingly cunning perpetrators. Amidst the sensationalism and the endless theories, it is vital to remember Elizabeth Short not as a mythical figure, but as a young woman with hopes and dreams. Her story, often overshadowed by the brutality of her death and the moniker Black Dahlia, deserves to be told with respect and empathy. She was a daughter, a sister, and an individual who sought a better life. Her brutal murder stripped her of her identity, transforming her into a symbol. But behind the headlines, she was Elizabeth Short, and her memory should serve as a poignant reminder of the human cost of violence and the enduring pain of an unsolved injustice. As long as the Black Dahlia case remains officially unsolved, it will continue to haunt Los Angeles and the imagination of those fascinated by true crime. The absence of a definitive conclusion allows the story to live on, inviting endless speculation, fresh investigations, and new generations of armchair detectives. It is a testament to the powerful hold that such profound mysteries can exert, pulling us into their depths, demanding answers that may never come. The Black Dahlia is more than a cold case, it is an unclosed chapter in the dark history of Hollywood, a chilling narrative of a dream turned nightmare. The question of whether the Black Dahlia murder will ever be definitively solved looms large. With each passing year, the chances diminish as witnesses pass away and evidence degrades further. Yet, the persistent efforts of independent researchers, authors, and even some retired law enforcement officials keep the hope alive. Perhaps a forgotten piece of evidence will be re-examined with new technology, or a deathbed confession will finally provide the missing link. Until then, the Black Dahlia murder remains a stark reminder that some secrets are buried so deep, they may never see the light of day, forever captivating and terrifying.